Welcome to the Smith and Rowland Show. Let's join our host, Alan Smith and Jeff Rowland.
Now have the ability to look at the Smith and Rowland Show, which I know brings joy to your heart because we are much better looking than how we sound. So now I'm going to give to you the host of the show, Alan Smith.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Rowland.
You're welcome.
In my case, the sound is better than the look.
Well, I'm not commenting on that.
We do welcome everybody here today. Me and Rowland, we like to start off our podcast by complimenting each other. It tends to make it go smoother. But Rowland, it's good to see you today. There's a lot of things going on here, Rowland, about finances and money. I've been seeing people put up on the internet. I went to Walmart 2 years ago. My grocery bill's $150. I just bought the same thing 2 years later, 3 years later, $400 and some dollars. Have you seen any of those?
Oh, yeah. Haley actually shared with me the same story you were just sharing, that somebody had went and I think the increase was like well over 100% just in a couple of years of goods that they had bought. And so I know that that's a problem that we're going to continuously face because the inflation rate's so high now that the dollar is no longer as valuable as it used to be. Yeah. And it's going to continue to get worse.
Well, it looks like it is. And as Christians, we're seeking for the will of God in our lives. We're seeking for direction, right, from God and His Word and His leaders. We're looking for leaders to give direction. And that leads me to an article here of Benny Hinn today. Benny Hinn says that the world's darkest days are ahead. Giving to God will protect followers financially. I don't know that you can buy protection, which that almost seems to allude to that type thinking. But we do know that Benny Hinn kind of renounced the prosperity gospel close to 5 years ago.
And he renounced it, but this article doesn't appear that he's renounced it totally.
Well, he's probably, at best, he's unsure about what he's saying. Yeah. At best, he's not quite settled on the issue. I think you go too far to say give to God for financial protection. I don't think that I don't think Job would preach that message.
No, and to be quite honest with you, if any Christian has went through the drive-thru at McDonald's lately, they wouldn't say it either. So, I mean, as Christians, we're paying the same amount of money as what the lost man's paying for the goods that we get. So, there's that.
I think that's a pretty good point. What Benny says here, he says, well, listen, I want you to give to the Lord's work. I want you to sow seed in the Lord's work. We are facing days of such darkness and such danger unseen in the history of man. Unseen since Adam, worse than anything that has happened in the past. What's coming on the way, Hinn said, is a live stream broadcast on YouTube Tuesday. He said it then, titled Shameless Begging, in which viewers were prompted to donate to Hinn's ministry. I think I would be, if I was Benny, I would be a little uncomfortable with the way he framed up the giving there, but our point in even reading this little bit of Hinn's plea here was you and I are acknowledging the need for finances, and we know that people are running out of money. We were running out of money 2 or 3 years ago. Now our money is even buying much, much less. It's not a little less. It's much less because of this somewhat unseen demon called inflation.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, the inflation rate is not even calculated right by the government. They're saying that we're at such and such percent of inflation rate. When Trump was in office, we had 1%. When he left office, it was a little over 1% inflation. It went to 9%, but that 9% didn't calculate everything. The inflation rate that they say is coming down is not coming down in terms of fuel, food, medicine, and other things that have been inflated. They haven't come down at all. As a matter of fact, food's still up 25% from what it was. Fuel prices is up 46% from what it was when Joe Biden took office. So those things become taxes on the poor. A rich man can go to McDonald's and pay $17 for a Happy Meal. But a poor man can't do that. Or someone that's even considered middle class can't do that.
Yeah.
To go to the grocery store and your food's suddenly 25% higher is basically another tax on the middle class and on the poor. So inflation hurts those that are struggling more than it hurts those that are rich. And oddly enough, Alan, this argument keeps being framed in such a way that, well, Donald Trump's tax cuts was all for the rich. It wasn't for the poor. Truth of the matter is, and you know this, and it's been argued and debated many times, but when you overtax in the corporate arena, that is felt downstream. It's felt through the employees. It's not necessarily a burden on the corporate leaders. It's a burden on their employees. They're the ones that pay the price for it. Same is true with inflation. It affects the poorest first. Then it works its way up. You know, that's where we're headed. With Benny Hinn's article, it does frame a larger issue. And there is a hidden issue in what Benny Hinn is saying here. And I would take issue with the fact that I don't think Benny Hinn has left totally this prosperity gospel. Well, and I think we'll see an emergence of that as inflation gets worse.
Benny is like a lot of Christians, I believe. It's not really understood what giving is about. I mean, Benny, it's obvious to me, has a mixed understanding. He's a little bit confused because in one sense, I mean, he's a preacher. In one sense of the word, he's preached give to God. Well, I mean, both know that giving is a good thing. It's a Bible principle. So you can't say that's wrong. You can't even say that giving is like, they used to call it seed faith. Now, we know that that is biblical, but it's not only money, it's other things. It's when you plant, you will reap what you sow, it says. So it's not that it's completely off base. But I think that Benny has been criticized so much on both fronts. I'm not trying to take up for Benny Hinn, but I'm trying to be real. He's a preacher, and he's been criticized from pillar to post. And I believe that the biggest thing that Benny Hinn's guilty of, Jeff, is trying to do what he thinks the book says. I don't agree with you want to. I mean, really, I think
I don't agree with his conclusions, but I think he's kind of.
I think he's tried the book. If God says do it, let's just do it. Let's just say it and let's do it. And because I do sense that part of sincerity about Benny Hinn, is what I'm saying. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I believe he has a sincerity in his heart. I think he got out of bounds. I think he did better than I probably would have. And because when you get this kind of money coming in, different things, it'll mess with your brain. And I'm glad I wasn't put in that. It's obvious that the Lord can't trust me with too much money. But anyway.
Well, he says in this article, a faithful man will abound with blessings. And I agree with that. But I don't think that what I think the conclusion is on the prosperity part of teaching is that I believe that a faithful man to God will be prosperous. But I believe that harvest is not necessarily economically.
I think that's a very good way to put it. Very good. I mean, the prosperity can be peace of mind.
Absolutely.
Right.
And spiritual blessings. Joy.
And spiritual, joy, peace. Yeah. I mean, if that being the case, we all need to give it a little more money.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're not knocking the prosperity of spiritual blessings in heavenly places.
That's right.
We do think it's a good thing to follow Jesus. We think it's
absolutely
prosperous.
And be obedient with your money. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're for all that. So I think Benny it's obvious that he denounced the prosperity teaching, which it really overdoes it. I mean, this is mild to the prosperity message of, giving and get an airplane.
And just as a side note to that, in this very article, Benny says this: I'm sorry to say that prosperity has gone a little crazy, and I'm correcting my own theology, he says, and you need to all know that. He said, because when I read the Bible now, I don't see the Bible in the same eyes I saw 20 years ago. He understands that there's a problem with prosperity teaching. To kind of call him out and say, okay, well, we're going to crucify Benny Hinn. I think that the principle of prosperity in serving God is a true principle. It's a true Bible principle.
Mm-hmm.
But the harvest just needs to be what I think is to be corrected. The overreaching point that Benny is making is darkness is coming. Financial darkness is coming.
I think he's bingo right there, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Yes,
he's
sir.
Bingo.
Absolutely. He absolutely is. There's no doubt about that.
So the takeaway from his article, I think you and I want to do a good takeaway on it. Now let's go on to this other article that we've tied into it. Jeff, what's the title of our next one there? We were tying three articles in. So there's Benny.
Yeah,
okay, you got Benny.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Redefining the American dream from wealth to survival. And that's kind of the frame of mind I think that most people are in. People are trying to survive. And it says Americans in upper income groups are concerned about their ability to pay bills, with more than 15% of the demographic taking up additional jobs over the past year, according to a survey by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. As of April 2024, 32.5% of respondents earning over $150,000 annually were worried about making ends meet over the next 6 months.
Wow.
Now, consider that, Alan. Those that are making $150,000 a year are concerned about paying their bills. It says this percentage is higher than for those in the income groups of 100,000 to 150,000, 70,000 to 99,000, 40,000 to 69. Only individuals who earn less than 40,000, the lowest income group, were more worried than the 150,000 plus group.
Well, so I can fix that one. Jeff, they just need to give that first 100,000 away. And
that's right. And then they won't be so worried about it.
No, you ain't got 2/3 of your worries are gone right there.
But one reason that if you get accustomed to $150,000 a year and then suddenly you're cut back on your money, that's going to be a problem. If you was making $40,000 going into this inflation, you were already set at a place to where you couldn't afford anything.
Yeah,
and so they're not going to worry about it at all.
By inflation, that 40's been cut in half. As far as buying power is concerned. All right, let me ask you a question, Jeff. Let's say this is using the number 150,000, which sounds pretty high in my world. But at the same time, let's just say that people do not have their money's tight, whether you make 50,000 or 150, money's tight. And so, all right, let me ask you a question. You got people that believe in tithing. And you got people that believe in giving, that believe that tithing is an Old Testament model. And then there's some who believe, well, tithing's a good thing to go by. You can give that or even more if you want to. But we got this mindset out there. And then some people believe that's just totally an Old Testament principle. Well, let me ask you something, Jeff. Let's say that you make $40,000 a year. You barely buy groceries, make your house payment, and you have enough gas to put in the car to go to work next week. And your mother's in need of something, and you've got set aside $200 that week for tithe money. Do you think you should help your mother that doesn't have food or heat or cooling in the summer? Do you think you should do that or give that to the church? I mean, I didn't mean to catch you off guard or anything like that.
Yeah, and I so appreciate that.
Yeah, I know, but kind of led into it easy and
right.
But I mean,
I'm used to it. I'm used to it.
But that's a good question. You know what I'm saying?
It's a very good question. It's a question that Christian people struggle with all the time in the area of their giving. I personally think this is from a totality of the Word of God. I think the Bible teaches us to take care of each other. I think the Scriptures teaches us that we're supposed to care for one another. I think that's why that the storehouse should be full, is to take care of each other. I don't think there would be a need for such things as Social Security or Medicare if the church was really doing its job. I really believe that. I don't think there would be a need for retirement if the church was really doing their job. But I will say this. I think that when someone is in that situation where, okay, I've got this money set, this is God's money, my mama over here needs help. I think when they give to their mother and they take care of their mother, they're giving. I think spiritually speaking, they're giving. I'm not as pinpointed with that area of tithing as a lot of people would preach. Though I do believe this. There is no need to say that the church can't do this and the church can't do that if you're not willing to tithe into that church. Naturally, we should give into the ministry of the church. The church needs to then have the proper leadership to know how to create a structure to take care of people that we need to take care of. And I think that starts with the membership of that congregation and then works outside the walls. Is that happening? Everybody has to make their own determination to the church in regards to the church they're attending.
Exactly.
But individually speaking, I agree that is one of the biggest issues in the area of giving that we have in the church. You're limited on resources. You've got all these things that you need to take care of. I do think this, though, Alan. I think that has to come through the leadership of the Holy Spirit and by spending an enormous amount of time in prayer with God as to what to do with your resources. Because there is still that mandate, I think, to take care of those that minister and to take care of those that labor in the Word. There is that obligation and responsibility to take care of. I do believe that.
Right.
And you can't do that if there's no resources.
Here's what I play with, Jeff, because as going into where we are, this is going to be more of a problem about giving to the church or to each other, whatever. Yeah. And what I am asking, I had somebody here not long ago, he presented that question to me. My response was, if your mama does she need $200? And he said, well, it's just a round figure, She needs groceries, whatever that takes. I said, well, I'd go get the groceries. I don't care if it took $210. But I said I'd either hold out or I'd add to at least $25 and put in play of the church. That's just because I said with the church, it's more, and I'm not saying amount doesn't help the church, but in the spirit, the act of giving's the issue. I mean, the widow just put a mite in. Right.
That's right.
And that's all she have. And if you help your mom with $200, all you got is $20. Put the $20 in the plate.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's all or nothing. I think we can fulfill obligations, but the thing of giving into the church, I think is a biblical principle, which me and you both believe in. I think you can cover that biblical principle, and there again, the scripture would be the widow and a mite.
Let me ask you a question, Alan. There is this big movement, and I think it's going to get bigger, of the home church phenomenon,
right,
where people are coming together in their homes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I engage in that on Friday nights here at the shop, and people come, we do a Bible study, whatnot.
And we invite you. Church, we invite you. Hang on, we invite everybody Friday night, which will be tonight, to key in on this podcast. It's a podcast. It's also a video podcast. Starts at 6:30. I'm the one that actually puts it up on KPS and send it out, but it also goes out on our YouTube channel. We invite everybody to go to that weekly Friday night Bible study, and you're starting something new tonight. Now, don't lose your train of thought when I interrupted you, but what you starting tonight, Jeff?
Starting the book of Ephesians. We're going through the book of Ephesians line by line, verse by verse, because I'm in love with that book. Everybody has their favorite verses and whatnot, but I'm in love with the book of Ephesians, especially for where we're at right now. I think it's...
Well, that Friday night Bible study, Friday night Bible study is gaining a lot of momentum on our channel here. So we do invite everybody. Now, unless you've lost your place, have I totally lost you lost your place where you were talking?
Oh, see, I have it locked in ye old steel trap.
Oh, steel trap. Okay,
because of that, I can call it up in a moment's notice.
You're definitely a steel trap. You're very hard-headed. All right, go ahead.
The home church movement, which is going to be a big deal. It's been a big deal, but it's going to become, I think, bigger in times to come. The home church movement. That does not alleviate the giving principle from the Word of God. If you're looking at that home church as your church, if that's your church, I do still believe that there is that responsibility to sow financially as well as your time and your talents into that home church. That being said, there may not be necessarily a pastor to support. There may not be a building to take care of, things like that. But there is still the opportunity to give and to use that money to effectively minister in the kingdom with families, with people in need, things like that. I wanted to point that out in the fact that that's an issue.
It's a huge issue. I don't know if you remember or not, Jeff, but back in Shiloh days and revival, you asked who in here this week does not have enough money to buy groceries.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you remember this. And you said,
Yeah,
now the only thing, you're going to have to walk up here at the front. I ask you, if you can't buy groceries this month or this week, I want you to walk up here. You're going to have to humble yourself a little bit. Well, I don't remember. It was quite a few, 20 or 15 to 20. It was quite a few. And they were basically 2/3 ladies and children. Then you took up an offering right then. And you took up the money, and how many it was, some of the deacons at that time, they divided up the money and give it to every one of them. And it was a pile of money. It was a pile of money, and it gave them what they needed to buy groceries that week. That didn't happen only one time, but that one time, I don't remember just the total details. It's been so long now, but that's another way you can do it if you're even in home church. Who here's in need? Who can buy groceries, or if you can't buy groceries,
exactly right.
Then let's take care of them.
And I think that's the way that the church should operate. So there's got to be resources to do that. You know as well as I do, over at Shiloh, we didn't have the greatest facilities. We was in a big metal building. You could still see the insulation on the walls.
Right.
We didn't spend no money because we didn't have no money.
Right.
We didn't spend no money on an elaborate facility. A lot of our equipment, our PA systems and things like that was pieced together from what we could find what someone would feel burdened to do. But the one thing that we can say is if we had anything and somebody was in need, we'd give it.
In a heartbeat.
We tried to do that. Toward the latter end of the time that I was at Shiloh, we would take up an offering every Wednesday night and find another church that was in need and give them that money. So we did all kinds of things like that. And the home church principle needs to be, I think, engaged in that area of giving as well and finding ways to take resources to people that's in need. I think that's the way that it's supposed to work.
Jeff, this led us on into another article here. I'm trying to find it. What was that? We had one other article. It was talking about financial security.
Yeah, it was the new standard for financial security in America.
Wow.
It's set now at $186,000 a year.
Now, can you believe that, Jeff?
Yeah, that's the new standard.
That's not our world, Jeff. But they're saying if you want to have financial security in the United States today, that you need to make $186,000 a year.
That's what you're saying.
The only thing I can tell you, there's a bunch of unsecure people that I know.
Yeah. Well, the article says that's only 6% of U.S. adults make that kind of money. So you have a major problem. And we got
a problem.
Yeah, we got a big problem.
We're in a tight spot.
It goes to consumer confidence. And the consumer confidence scale that the government uses is what they set economic policy on. It's what they set even the tax numbers on. So if you've got somebody that's making less than $186,000 a year, they do not have the confidence as a consumer to spend that money where it needs to be spent to spur the economy. So you got 6% of the American population that's actually economically spurring this economy on. Now, what the present administration wants to do is overtax that 6%. So now, if all you got is 6%,
you ain't got enough.
You ain't got enough. No,
you could take all of the 6%'s money and not do much,
and not do nothing. No, and watch this, Alan. Only 6% of the population, if you can grab this, based on this article, along with government data, 6% of the population of America is paying 82% of the taxes.
Welcome to the world here, everybody.
It cannot survive at that rate.
No. So going back to Benny Hinn's article, and that leads me back to that prophetic part. Benny Hinn says world darkest days are ahead, given to God will protect followers. So, of course, but his main statement was he believes that the world is headed into darker days. And I tend to, based on these numbers and these things we've just talked about, I'm a little bit in that persuasion.
I'm way in
myself.
That persuasion.
Yeah, I am too, buddy. Well, listen, Jeff, we need to get out of here. We've spent our dollar here. We're on borrowed time now, so let's get off of here. Let's get a few more things again together for tomorrow.
Sounds good.
So that our listening audience can be as smart as Smith and Rowland.
It'll be hard
And
for them to do that, but I agree.
That's right. Well, goodbye. I am not Rowland.
And I am not Smith.
But we're glad
But
you
together we are the Smith and Rowland
Smith and
Show.
Rowland Show. That's right. Bye-bye.
Right. See you.
See you.
Thank you for joining today's Smith and Rowland Show. You can check out our website at kingdompropheticsociety.org and our daily unplugged podcast at smithandrowlandshow.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.